The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
17 News is your local election headquarters, and there are a number of local ballot measures before voters in Kern County in this midterm election. From raising the county's sales tax to building healthcare facilities to retail cannabis. 17's Marco Torres has a look at tax measures on the ballot in several cash-strapped areas of Kern County.
McFarland, Ridgecrest, Tehachapi, and unincorporated areas across Kern County. People living in these areas are going to see a new measure on their ballot next week about whether or not a 1% increase in sales tax should be adopted. The tax increase could bring hundreds of thousands to small cities. For the county, it's estimated to bring in more than $1 million every year.
Really what we're struggling with is we're struggling to provide public safety service. If you drive around the city of McFarland and you look at our roads and the condition of our roads, you can see our infrastructure needs some huge, upgrades.
This 1% increase will bring tax to 8.25% in all proposed cities except for Ridgecrest. If passed, Ridgecrest tax will become 9.25%. A majority vote is needed to pass the measures, and these taxes can be applied to regular goods and services. On your ballot, here's what you'll see. City of McFarland will be listed as Measure M. City of Ridgecrest will be listed as Measure P. City of Tehachapi will be listed as Measure S. And unincorporated Kern is Measure K.
Me gustaría que
The money we're making in the city or in the fields is too little to pay more taxes. I think it's going to affect all the businesses in McFarland because a lot of people know it's less expensive here than in other places. So if they increase the prices, it's going to be more difficult to buy things from businesses.
However, some people are for the measures as long as the money is appropriately used.
I voted yes on Measure K. The thing with taxes, it's mainly about supporting the community, kind of the government giving back to the community and using those funds. But so long as those funds are allocated necessarily to where they need to go.
The money is promised to go to local infrastructure, quality of life upgrades, and to assist with law enforcement.
It's about sustainability. Us being a small city like us with, kind of a low income kind of nature, it doesn't give us ability to maintain these things and provide for our citizens that we need to.
Even though the potential money made from these taxes could really help out the cities as well as Kern, people who I've talked with throughout the day have said that they just cannot afford to pay more on taxes. From McFarland, Marco Torres, 17 News.
On McFarland's ballot, voters will see Measure O. This measure will determine if commercial cannabis companies can set up shop in the city. McFarland City Manager Kenneth Williams says their community is facing financial hardship and that this new measure, along with Measure M, will give the city prolonged financial stability.
That Measure O basically is a cannabis tax, and so in the event that we do have cannabis coming into the community, it's another revenue stream for us. In the event they do, then what we'll do is we'll be able to tax that. It'll be another tax base for us to receive consistent revenue coming into the city.
McFarland City leaders say they've already been approached by cannabis companies interested in opening businesses in their city.
Well, Old Man, 17 News is your local election headquarters, and 5 days to the finish line. And two key issues are grabbing headlines: threats to democracy and the economy. On Wednesday, the Federal Reserve announced another interest rate hike, and we have more from NBC's Drew Petremol.
President Biden focused on threats to democracy in his final pitch to voters.
We don't settle our differences in America with a riot, a mob, or a bullet, or a hammer.
Trying to convince voters that today's Republicans can't be trusted to run the country. President Biden pointing to the violent attack on the U.S. Capitol and the recent attack of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband.
The extreme MAGA element of the Republican Party, which is a minority of that party, as I said earlier, but it's its driving force, is trying to succeed where they failed in 2020, to suppress the right of voters and subvert the electoral system itself.
It's an argument former President Obama repeated in Arizona. campaigning for Democrats in the state.
Democracy's at stake in this election.
Mitch McConnell, the top GOP leader in the Senate, tweeting, President Biden is desperate to change the subject from inflation, crime, and open borders. Now he's claiming that democracy only works if his party wins. Other top Republicans also firing back.
The Democrats were dividing us as they moved forward. They just want to distract from the disasters they created.
Republicans seizing on crime and the sluggish economy. Wednesday, the Federal Reserve announcing another big hike in interest rates, aimed at lowering inflation that now hovers above 8%.
Under Joe Biden, our country has turned into inflation nation.
Different messages aimed at convincing voters who in just 5 days are poised to decide which party controls Congress and state capitals across the country. President Biden will travel to New Mexico today, where he'll deliver remarks on student debt relief. Tonight, former President Donald Trump is in Iowa, where he'll hold a rally for candidates for governor and U.S. Senate. Drew Petrimo, NBC News, Washington.
And a reminder, our next debate and final debate is happening tonight. The three candidates running for the Bakersfield City Council Ward 7 seat will be here in our KGET studios for a live debate at 7 p.m. Facing off will be Tim Collins, Raj Gill, and Manpreet Kaur. If you have a question you want us to ask the candidates, send us an email to 17news@kget.com. Type question for the candidates in the subject line.
A woman who admitted to shooting and killing her daughter's boyfriend will learn today how long she will spend behind bars. The shooting happened in August 2021 on I Street between 2nd and 3rd Streets. Geraldine Hunt claimed she shot Javante Green out of fear for her daughter's safety. Hunt was found guilty of second-degree murder. She faces 40 years to life in prison.
Once again, no winner in last night's $1.2 billion Powerball drawing, so that means the jackpot is going up again to $1.5 billion.
This is hard to believe. So here are the winnings from last night, although it doesn't really matter. And so it's 2, 11, 22, 35, 60, Powerball, or the Mega Ball, 23.
This is the 39th consecutive drawing with no big winner. The new jackpot is just a few million short of the record high $1.586 billion.
And as Kevin mentioned too, you could still win a lot of money. You just
even
can't
if
win
you don't win the jackpot. Yeah, exactly.
So
the 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.